Well, hey, New Prospect family. It is February 5th. RTB 2021 readings today were really good. Genesis 38, Mark 8, Job 4, and Romans 8. Some great readings there. Hopefully you enjoyed those and were challenged. Some great truths to be found there. Yesterday, we kind of looked at a theme of frustration and kind of some things going on and how sometimes we don't see in the middle that God is working, but He is, and we can trust Him because He's faithful. Today, I saw an interesting theme of kind of relationships springing out of some of our readings, too, that I thought tied really well together. In the Mark 8 reading, we see Jesus feeding the multitude, and He had compassion on the people. Just as He has compassion on us, He sees our need and He meets our need, and that's a beautiful part of our relationship with God. But that's not why we follow Him, right? In parallel passages there, we see that after He fed the multitude, a lot of them left because they wanted more, and He said, well, I'm the bread. So, and a lot of them turned away from Him. So we don't come to God and we don't believe in Him for what He can offer us, just for who He is. But one of the benefits of what Jesus has done for us is that relationship. And so further on in Mark 8, we see Him feed the multitudes, and then He has an interaction with Peter. And then at the end of the chapter, towards the bottom, he gives a simple challenge. Sometimes we overcomplicate the Christian life, and we add a lot of things to it. And Jesus is simply just saying, "Follow me." Follow me, obey, walk with me. So he calls the crowd along with His disciples, and He says, "If anyone wants to follow after me, let him deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me." A simple command to follow. Whoever wants to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life because of me and the gospel will save it. For what does it benefit someone to gain the whole world and yet lose his life? In this idea of, what is one of the greatest benefits of salvation is relationship with the Creator of the universe. That is one of the greatest changes that happens in our lives, after we're saved. It's not just a change in eternal destination. It's a new identity. It's this new relationship with God. It's this reconciled, broken relationship. So if you flip over to Romans, a lot of people might think, like, my goodness, take up a cross, follow me. It sounds burdensome. It can sound difficult or challenging or overwhelming to some to think to take up the cross and to follow Jesus. They're like, I don't know if I want that burden. I don't know if I can handle that. I don't know if I can do that. Well, I love Paul's thought here in Romans chapter 8 because I think it really conveys the beauty of our relationship with Christ. He starts Romans 8 by saying, therefore, there's no condemnation for those in Christ Jesus, right? So one of the awesome parts of this new relationship, we have been forgiven. We've already talked about throughout some of the Romans readings, especially about justification and about our new standing with God, and how we're no longer, we struggle with sin, we struggle with our flesh warring against us, but we're not bound by that. That doesn't, is not the dominant Lord of our life. Jesus is. And so I love in Romans chapter 8 and verse 12, it says, so then, brothers and sisters, we're not obligated to the flesh to live according to the flesh, but if you live according to the flesh, you're going to die. But, I love this part, but if by the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you'll live. For all those led by God's Spirit are God's sons. For you did not receive a spirit of slavery to fall back into fear. Instead, you received the Spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out, Abba, Father. The Spirit Himself testifies together with our spirit that we are God's children, and if children, also heirs, heirs of God, and co-heirs with Christ, if indeed we suffer with Him, so that we may also be glorified with Him. taking up our cross daily and following Him is not a burden. It is not a punishment. What was meant to be a torture device is actually a beautiful symbol of our salvation. As we follow Jesus, we are to be dying to self. We are to be putting to death those things that keep us from Him, that stand between us and Him, that entangle those sins that entangle us. Tim Keller, great author, had a great simple quote. He said, "Be killing sin before sin be killing you." And why can we do that? How is that possible? Because of our relationship with God, the spirit of adoption. We've been brought in. We'll see later on in Ephesians. We've been brought near by the blood of Christ. And so as we follow Him, as we take up our cross daily, as we make sacrifices, as we lay aside the idols, and as we put those things aside, and you know how we looked at with Jacob a few chapters ago in Genesis, where he says, "Put away your idols, purify yourself, put on new clothes." As we do those kind of things, and as we take up our cross and follow Jesus daily, it's not a burden, it's not a punishment, it's not a horrible way to live. It's actually a natural outflowing of our love for Jesus and our relationship with Him, and we cry out, "Abba, Father." And don't you love that terminology? We're not whimpering, we're not begging. No, we're crying out, "Abba, Father," because that's the natural outpouring of a life that's been radically changed by Jesus. And so we take up our cross and follow Him, not out of drudgery or burden or some legalistic duty. It's because we love Him. We've been brought near by Him. We've adopted into His forever family through His Son Jesus, and we are co-heirs with Christ. All the benefits that are His are ours in Christ. What a beautiful picture. I hope you have a great day today. I hope you walk in that truth. Cry out, "Abba, Father," today, and thank Him for bringing us into His forever family. And as we follow Him, it's not a burden. It's actually a joy. It's an amazing experience because we've been brought in. Love you so much, New Prospect family. I hope you have a blessed day. Can't wait to see you tomorrow again for RTB 2021. Don't forget to like and subscribe.